I heard those voices earlier.
Who are you? You lying bastard?
I remember now, I can hear it.
You're mad.
Mad? Mad?
Mad, I said. You're mad.
Mad? But I tried.
But why do I have the guilt?
Because your crime. I have to shoot up. Hal, quick, try and see. It's that tumour, that level, that macho, masculine level. It's the peak as I want to shoot. It's causing all the trouble. Nothing works.
You didn't do it alone. You had help.
She came up to me. I saw the scarlet in her face, and her eyes glimmered, and she looked away. A light flickered against the path. I thought of the area across the water. I could see it in my vision. It seemed to come closer. I tell you, it seemed to come closer. The moon was rising. Ghosts of the dead pilots. I saw them dance up and down. I see uniforms and insignias. Insignias cast their spirits in the bay. I can see it now. At the apex, where she was healed. Where she healed me at the bar. The light moved in my sight. My sight. That is now blind. And gone. As Christ is my witness, I tell you, I tell this court, this demonstration held in this God-forsaken haunted room, this soul is murdered. But I was aware of her then. I could see her. I could see her with my eyes then. I could see her, I tell you, as she stood poised in the atmosphere. It was Louise. Her figure had a strange way of moving. And she walked in her dress, gently, rhythmically. I can see her now as I lay in the bed. 12 o'clock, midnight, 2 o'clock, the early hours of the morning. It was the same day I traced back later. Impish, pixie as she was, her hair fell down her shoulders and she looked back at the divide in my room. I tell you, she was there. She came up to me. I heard no sound. And I saw the trace in her face which was scarlet before I became blind. And her eyes glimmered. And she looked into me. And then I tell you, my Lord, I tell you no lie. I found out later she had died. She wore a necklace. I went down Mount Isa. The lounge, angels came down the stem cell, reflecting. The hospital bed. Boomeranged. The gun. Lady Divine. He spat. Hydric was in his soul. Resentment. I found this old book. Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. The pituitary gland was the treasure I sought. The pirate machine cell. The journey I went on, the discovery. He saw her shopping, trying on dresses in windows. The Strand, I remember that. Richard Marble. A Roman candle showering. John Wayne, the Duke, the feminine. It's projecting. The picture's projecting. Photograph. Hark! You should go in. The cave. Discover the womb. Hatch the egg. That's the message in the bottle that was found. Hatch the egg that is your creative birth, gift to the world. You do a story, map, for followers to decipher, to do the test, to qualify, enter the elite, go to the cave, to El Dorado, sanctuary, get away from this, to debrief. Protect yourself. Not I. Spies. Freud says Dostoevsky was not direct. He symbolized it, but I say he camouflaged it to hide it from other eyes. To protect himself. To protect himself so he could not be an outlaw, a pirate. That's why he wrote fiction, poetic. Poetic, hid it. It's a canvas, a map, the canvas, it's a map, the symbols on the map. The symbols on the map. They found the picture, veiled. They treated it. The end of the diary tells it all. I found the diary in the room in which I was sealed. I sealed myself off. Concrete. Cement from the war outside. Hear that noise? The war outside, the noise masquerading as music that drove me mad. I went in, tunnelled in, created 4 walls, not even remembering, cemented. Wrote the diary inside, blackout, escaped, couldn't remember, came back as the detective, superintendent. Superintendent Glass. Found the diary. The Anne experiment. That's what they called it. They must have done it in here. Protect yourself. Notes here. Hortex. Residence. Res. R-E-S. It means resurrection. R-E-S, resurrection. Res means land. Lot 1, terrain of the mind. That was it. He went in. The map of Sussex, West Sussex, went perfectly over the map of her, over her solar plexus. That was it. Tributaries. Bound, went up. Symbols of boats. But it was a spirit that entered when I looked into the mirror. Saw the Air Force, the flyer, that's my own spirit, at a point outside myself in the mirror, went in and, oh, here's the rest. The Hoop. Nefertiti. Mum was Lady Diane, played by Patricia. Dad, Sir Keith. Arthur. Actors, actresses. Round the lip of the seal. The swim. The well. The old order had collapsed. As I looked at the atmosphere, I could see the electrons knitting together, so that each dotted infinite section became one, and formed. It formed. At first an image, but then I began to see that the image was fragmented. I began to feel that it was she. There was somebody actually there. It was like a deep movement that I heard, like a symphony, music, and a depth produced itself that was building a new order, and I could see it extend itself to the dimension of the world to which I had come. It was like a sea, S-E-E, a church, as if there was a church-like area inside of her. It stretched beyond. Then, after 7 years, she was trapped behind the plastic. There is no death certificate. Then, after 7 years, 7 years! Long past the stars and the moons that raced past now, and I turned the clock back that stood on the dial, back, so that there was no past, present or future. In fact, there was no dimension at all. It seemed as if there was no dimension known to man's concept. Gone. They were all gone. All these categories were gone. As concepts, they did not exist in this area into which I had entered, and I began to experience, to feel that which can only be described. Do you remember I told you my conflicted voice? It was crossed over, shattered. But now it began to unentangle, disentangle, unravel, and a sound drove itself across the area into which I had travelled. The sound belonged to a woman, through these subterranean bricks, concrete, into which I had, well, you heard earlier I described, into which I had flown, built myself. And then I knew it was a subterranean type inner temple, concreted in a pyramid-like zone which had blocked up myself, my inner spirit. The classification regime, that's what had done it. I could see myself passing. Projected back to me. Aspects of myself disintegrated and mended slowly in the mirror, congealed after I had seen her. A pirate.
Alexandra.
Machine.
That's right, I remember.
A pirate!
Saying that to me in the monastery, in the church where we filmed. Roderick. Sir Keith. Arthur. Who's Arthur? He said. Well, I know. A confession. It's just a piece of paper. Take a look at it. It's just a piece of paper. I opened the envelope that day. The map. I opened the map. Confined lines. Swamp. The word stood out. A satchel. Words. I set out to sea. A map. Colour. Brighton. XY chromosomes. Solar plexus. In red lines. Male. Mirror. Female. What's the power? That's what he said. What's the power? Slow lights burned an infinitesimal second. They appeared.
Don't hit me! All right, don't hit me, don't hit me, don't hit me! All right, don't hit me, don't...
Had I made a mistake? There was a time when I was a young man, wanted to be a writer. I had gone for the main chance. Wealth, fame, spurning my true calling, a deeper yearning. I chose law. The war, she said. This is the game of define and provide. I shall take you through the film, show you. This was not like Shebrett's case. We were dealing with a woman, but there were some similarities I intuited, but it was different. In reverse, Evelyn Liv. Women were dressed to mirror the feminine. Errol, Robert Louis Stevenson. Words I heard came back in memory of The Ring of Evelyn Liv. Michael Cameron, Ramirez, Blind. I was transferring their sight. Ring, ring, ring. I remember the ring of the bell. I remember the ring of the bell and the scream. That's what happened, a catharsis. I remember that in this asylum of the dead, this Theatre of Skull Cathedral, where all these portraits of Errol were around and it smashed into my face. And then it disintegrated. Both. Chinese, all nationalities, all souls, outlined in a beautiful figure. Indian.
I've got to get out.
An English death. Madness grips the mind.
I was a QC once, you see what I'm saying?
You were a QC?
I am now.
You're deluded, man.
Well, that may be. You might have to be deluded to be a QC. I mean, after all, you're in chambers, and we all know what happens in chambers, don't we? We all know what happened in the 15th century in chambers, don't we?
Yes.
I mean, you realise that, haven't you?
Yeah.
You know that bloody cone thing,
Yeah.
7 levels of space-time?
I know that.
So which one are you in?
Right down the bottom, I think.
Well, you could be in this other area as another you, writing this to you in this space-time, you see. It all makes sense, of course, doesn't it? And we wonder why... See, you go. Ignorance is the problem, John. There's no education. How the
Calling
kid...
me John, my name's David.
I thought you were the professor.
Yeah, Professor David Tapira.
The
That's my
crazy
name.
mirror.
Indeed, it's an area.
Crazy mirror. Crazy mirror. Crazy mirror, give me Patrice Wymore. Oh, did I ever tell you I used to admire Errol Flynn, and she was his third wife? Probably still is, actually. Don't turn your back to the camera. Okay, now look, let's just get back to where we were. Now look, we're addressing the judge here, and this is an important case. On trial is Antoinette, right? She was framed. Wife of Louis XVI, who gave Gluck his chance in life, his opportunity. There will be no opera except for Antoinette. And what do? Well, we know what they did, don't we? Because it's all written here, and you wrote it from another dimension. I've worked this all out. You wrote it from the other dimension so that we would know in this dimension what happened. What's the confession? It's a gem of evidence, and you're prepared to reject it.
I am, yes. I am.
John, why?
My name's not John. I told you before.
Well, whatever your bloody name is, all I know is that you've got this dreadful charge of the Light Brigade complex of defeating yourself. It's an English disease, and my grandparents have bequeathed it to me. It's in this awful, I can't stop, we've got to cut it out, because it's killing me. There's no assertive spirit in England anymore. You see what I'm saying?
I do.
And I've come back all this way, 12,000 miles, climbed up a map, like up from south down on the bottom, up to top, to cut out this dreadful, this psychic hell that's chromatically buried in the cell inside my chromosome that's English. I'm sure that's the problem. Because in 1898, or 988,
Yeah.
my ancestry was Saxon. It says it in a book, I've worked it out.
Yeah.
So that's the problem.
Yeah.
That's why I've come to you, Professor, because otherwise it's just going to go on and on and on. I'm just going to be...
Now, what do you think I can do for you?
Well, it's what all I think you can do is what you said you will do in your own letter that you sent to me through the pirate machine. This is what you said. Memory. It's not your fault. It's woman. Woman has destroyed your memory, sanity, logic, hasn't it?
Not yet.
Thank you. Well, I'm glad to hear. At last, we've got a confession out of you. I mean, you've been on trial all this time, and I've tried and had to play all these postures and different guises for your own good, and it's you. We had to find out who was the accused.
The only flaw in this is that you are the accused, not I.
You mean like floor as in fly in the ointment?
Flaw as in fly in the ointment.
Not the floor, not that floor.
Well expressed.
Thank you very much.
Flaw.
Very well.
Flaw as in fault.
Like Flora Robson.
No, that's just James Joyce.
Well, she lived here. She lived in Brighton. James Joyce. Look, I've got the answer to this because I've read your book and you convicted yourself. You took James Joyce to Christmas Island. That's what the trouble was. It was on the plane with you. I read it in your own confession. Am I right or not, Your Honour? I rest my case. Accused, I put it to you. Did you or did you not write that book?
What, Ulysses? Or the Grapple Club?
My lord?
I wrote the Grapple Club.
By inference, I
Did not write
submit
Ulysses.
the accused is admitting the allegation. Say that again?
I did not write Ulysses.
Take a look at this.
This says that I wrote Ulysses.
It's a piece of paper.
I'm loath to admit it, but...
Give that to me, for Christ's sake! Listen, Your Honour, I will read this to the witness one more time, and I ask the jury to deliver its verdict. Strategy was something at which I was a specialist, and Alexandra succumbed. Do you remember writing that?
No.
Or not?
No!
Well, why not?
I don't know why not. I don't remember it.
Are you trying to tell me I wrote it in the crazy mirror?
Yes, I am.
And that you didn't?
That would be implied.
And that I'm guilty?
Well, you're the one that's on trial.
But you're the accused on trial.
No, you are the accused on trial.
Well then, If that's the case, why is this writing here in my handwriting?
It's a forgery.
That's what I rest my case. You forged my writing. You just admitted to it. You just admitted it. You just, well, whatever. I mean, I is a designation by Sigmund Freud to give us some sort of identity, little ID, ... Because otherwise, what are we? Eternal?
No.
I am eternal, immortal, or little I with a dot upon it, big I, number of eyes, little square, triangle, how many eyes, number of levels.
If thy eye be single, thy whole body shall be full of light.
Lovely. I think that will go down for a bit of remission on sentence. Very nice. Okay, Rob. Now, I put it to you one more time, and I'll put it gently this time, because I'm beginning to quite like you. I must admit, strategy was something at which I was a specialist, and Alexander succumbed. And after you returned, the two of you made the best of it. But you divorced, and you married Roderick. And James... Oh, now there is the best! James.
Yeah.
James Devine. That green-shirted bastard in that earlier reel of film.
He's the one.
He's the one who did it.
He's the one that did it.
He's the one.
We've got it. We've
But
finally got there.
that bastard. He's the one who did it.
That bastard is the one who did it.
I talk to you all the time in a way, subconsciously trying to traject the thoughts to you, but...
He is the one.
He's been setting us up.
He has.
It's nothing to do with us.
We've been getting into all these difficulties.
We've been victims.
We've been framed.
Exactly.
We've been set up.
That's exactly what's happened. And do you know who's been setting us up with him?
Yes, her, isn't it? Yeah.
She has.
She has, yeah.
But there's one more clue. And it's being provided by you.
Give me that dog.
Venom.
Venom.
Benji Venom Dog. Ben Ven.
It's that blooming dog, isn't it, that's done all this?
Think of what rhymes in sound, because sound is the key with Ben Ven. And we've got the mastermind, archetype, hatchet man, chief conspirator. Ven Ven? Ven Ven? Crazy man, Ven Ven, 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 Ven Ven,
It's him! It's him! He's the bastard! The camera never tells the truth.
in the diary. The body was a double. Anne, Suzanne, Emily, Lady Divine, 19, made up, older. She said she cut his throat. That's it. Cheerio.
All right, don't it?
Because he found it.
Safety on that stuff, Diana. We've had the parade, ceremonial dinner, men have fallen out, graduates received their commissions, Peter's achievement's been recognised, he's made lieutenant.
Cheers to Peter.
You could be grateful. You owe it to yourself.
I stood next to a young woman while you reviewed the parade. She could not remember her name.
Sandhurst has forgotten. Sandhurst has forgotten. My brother could not be here. A curse on you, the Sampsons, for what you've done.
Mary.
Peter? Peter? A curse on the Sampsons. Your son. Your son. He and Michael were friends. To the Commandant of Sandhurst, Sir Keith, General, and Lady Diana Sampson, a spell upon the damned! Spell upon the damned.
I remember!
Cameron, her brother. Why was he not there? That's what the message of torment in her eyes conveyed to me momentarily in the blaze of the afternoon sun. The clock's hands on the ground past noon, and the cadets filed round, and you stood on the podium taking your salute, baton in hand, having removed it from under your arm. Like a baboon, standing like a statue in a monsoon, oblivious to all, cocooned by an invisible wall.
Diana, this is supposed to be the graduation day of our boy.
You had weathered the storm. We, all of us, had been pawns. As the cadets had come round, Peter in front of them, her face had suddenly transformed. It had dropped its veil and revealed the crazed grin of a devastated dawn. In the hand of this madam was this newspaper that she clutched in her paw that, as she was carried off, sprawled and read like an open headline that rocketed itself into my head. Woman linked with cadet disappearances from elite college one by one. Bartholomew Flynn, Thomas Lawrence, Matthew Buchan, Tad London, John Byrne, Andrew Wells, Michael Cameron. There it is, will you not read it?
There was a categorical attack, an invasion, an imposition of categories, a system, a regime, the intention, in order, to break up the alphabet.
The coffin was Mary Cameron. It was Mary Cameron, and the shaved down glass in front of the circular picture, the painting. That was what happened. It was the ring. It was the ring
Von Heydrich, come out. Von Heydrich, come on, Reinhardt. Let's pay. Let's pay. Let's pay. Escape. Space-time moved. Mutilated. The doll. The radio. In the picture I painted. Suzanne. Blind, deaf and dumb. Communicated. I had a blackout. And that was just my darkroom. I entered. Scanner. She said she cut his throat open so he could breathe. There was a moment I saw her. Mary. Get the picture? Give me the brooch! I know it's hidden in your fucking tooth! Give it to me, you bastard! I know... It was a hymn sheet. She said she cut his throat open so he could breathe. As I looked at her, the blood seems to spill, even now. down between the insides of her knees. And I heard her cry to the inquiry. I slit his throat. She stuttered a bit when she said that. I've reproduced her tone of voice perfectly, Your Honour. My lord. You see, I don't even know what time frame I'm in, what space. Australia, Queensland, the North West End, Your Honour. Or England, my lord. Oh, do go on, please, Mr. Pringle. Please do go on. We're not in Scotland now. Do go with your evidence, please. It's a judge. He lived within me. He lived between me. Between these ears. I've put my hymn sheet down again, you see. No stuttering. Ah, there was a squeak, a sound. Do you remember those brakes? In the beginning. The tanks outside. They've died down now. They're dying down now. But this judge lived inside me all these years, this bastard. Huh. I still can't forgive him, but I suppose he has to forgive himself, really. This dictator committed the crime from behind the bench. He was supposed to be impartial, but he was prejudiced. Ha! Rhymes, doesn't it? The poet in me knows. You see the little boy within you. The soul, the child, always knows is infinite, eternal life. And that's why she said she cut his throat, so he could breathe. And in the next part of the hymn sheet, he breathed. I wanted him alive, she said. Dead. Contradiction. Well, it is to certain levels, but the Walking Dead. For 1,000 years he was to live, telling his story. A ghost, an ancient mariner, walking, treading the boards, the theatre. You see, every time it gets close, the hysteria appears again. She stutters, he stutters, I stutters, Five Eyes stutter, the pirate stutters, and you know why? It was all because he had to forgive. Redemption, self, the ancestral line. Spirits, the islanders called them, in old primitive society, but I didn't. Civilized society should know that with my sister, his twin, she said. That is why I, the third twin, said to him, she is my sister and yours, and I became a priest, and they charged me with rape of the imagination, the muse, the prostitute in old ancient sayings and mythology. She was murder of her. It was in the coffin, dead, buried, the lady of the lake, Elaine she was, who rose, surfaced, after I had murdered her and suppressed her. With this macho, warlike pilot I was. Projected, destroyed, in this trial of his madness, insanity in the family, in this horrible day of the night of the murder of the Trinity, was freed. Amen. They were just toys. They're not toys.
It's just a little blonde girl in a little casket, in a little grass shack in Hawaii. Through that
Just toys. Started off as toys, and then I found the twin.
You know what occurred.
Is that a demand disguised as an order masking a question? If I refuse to answer, I'll be shot at dawn.
We are living under a curfew that's psychological. And if we are to lift it, we are to know why. Conclusions. Records of the inquiry were suppressed by you. Even the criminal courts were hushed up. What was the significance of the club for suicides? And what was the system that allowed for the existence of a poison in the ranks, enabling a murder incorporated to be orchestrated in reverse, so that the creative powers of the cadets were turned on themselves in a game of Russian roulette that caused the blast? What would a cadet be doing in the ranks at night with a gun that was loaded? Was it true that Michael Cameron's last words were, "I'm a poet"? Because if they were, what was he doing there firstly?
Where?
The army. Why was he not in the Poetry Society? What was he doing in the ranks of the Army of Great Britain trying to become an officer?
Cameron was sentenced to 16 years in his absence, and he deserved every one of them.
Hear, hear.
The inquiry was conducted civilly. I saw to that I was in charge. I took notes, made a record, came to the conclusion that Michael Cameron was a young man of outstanding leadership qualities who wasted them, and events boomeranged in consequence. Accident was dismissed. Cameron's position was represented in his absence. It was held that an intention can be construed when one is playing Russian roulette to murder. Our interpretation was open to confirmation in a court of law, of course, but it was enough to have Cameron charged on our recommendation and convicted on circumstantial evidence.
I see.
Something went wrong in the barracks on that night. There was a breakdown of communications. Everything that the cadets had been taught failed to be taken in or didn't connect inside.
Claire in the city.
What happened to Claire?
She's gone.
You foolish...
You made her go.
Me?
You. Yes, you.
Inside the brain, and there was a spark triggered by drink that sent one of them insane, and he started firing. And the official story is, he blew his sister's brains out. It was for this that he paid. Our decision's been made. Michael Cameron was guilty of being part of a dead generation. They're obsessed. Seemed ineffectual. Yet they seem to be in rehearsal. Search.
Mary. She represented everything to me. I can remember it as if it was yesterday, and yet it's years. It seems a lifetime or two of years since we were separated. And she went away. I always said she'd come back. Resurrect from the dead. She had a way of presenting things. She unleashed the creativity in me. Poetry flowed from my veins. I could write as though a flood came. Since then, I've never seen beauty. I've come to believe that every day she lives. She'd be 21. She told me there was a life beyond the grave.
Beyond it? You've got a fair way to go yet, you're not dead.
This is a strange way to celebrate this day. It's taking you from obscurity, giving you an opportunity, it's cradling your success in its womb like a crucible.
That's what I dread. Every step that I took in that parade was another name on my coffin. Oh, Mary was on the ocean.
She's dead. As if she were a being that never did exist. There's no room for her. You're in the army. Is he imagining? A poet transforming Hamlet's ghost into Mary Cameron after reading too much Shakespeare.
You've got a gift for poetry. You've suppressed it. Somewhere in there. 5 years ago, 1942, the Battle of El Alamein, you told me. You told me you discovered it when you, the army, was almost destroyed. When you were horribly wounded. You told me you transcended your body and discovered a peace. You returned from death with the knowledge of infinity. Immortality. Why? Why have you suppressed it?
I learned to forget. The past. You must forget.
But Mother said I would remember.
Your mother is regressing like a Catherine wheel reversing.
I would say a Roman candle shy.
She's on a rocket to the moon. Tanked up on so much booze she'd transfigure the time machine of H.G. Wells. She's been drinking all day. She's hallucinating. She's mistaking a newspaper report, associating an event. Michael Cameron. It's just a routine. Recurring. It'll pass. You're an officer. Get on with it.
I liked him. I liked Michael. He and I grew into the army, did it together, careers, plans, contemporaneously, as if Mary was legitimising our poetry. She said that all, the army, these events, were fuel upon which we would feed to blast our poetry into love, while he and I made a hole in the forefront of the galaxy for everyone to see. And out of it, the soul conceived. But Michael, he believed that Mary preached from the seed that would one day breed.
Cameron was perpetuating dissension in the ranks. It was entirely predictable that something untoward would happen. I blame myself for not seeing it. The signs were appearing. Son, pull yourself together.
The inquiry. It's reopened. The police, they found crates, evidence of a body that's been mutilated. They're examining everything. They found evidence, cotton specks of the things worn.
Shut up! Don't speak to my mother like that! Didn't you hide everything carefully?
I did my duty, as I saw fit in the army.
Well, it wasn't good enough!
The revolver barrel's been uncovered. I'm in the thick of it. Covered.
Didn't you crush and squeeze the life out of the apparel?
No, the bloodstains were ingrained into Mary's clothes. Michael washed before her face and stuck a bullet in it.
Why would you want to kill his sister?
Because I asked him to honour. He made a sacrifice. He was my instrument, my agent, to destroy her hold over Peter. I gave him an order, made him swear an oath of allegiance. He gave his word.
He was conflicted in his commitment to the army himself.
He doesn't know. He can't accept that Mary Cameron never died at all.
He's obliterated it, buried it in his mind.
The police have found her. She's been released from the asylum where you placed her.
I couldn't allow her influence. She was becoming a nightmare to the point where she was diverting you. So I couldn't see any way clear to what course to adopt to break her hold over you, so... Well, she was insane. So when I signed the papers, I ensured that was how she was seen under a false name.
But you know what you do? You continue. There is no end. You have to keep covering it. I confess, I loved her more than the army.
What?
She saved me.
That's what the army's here to do.
No, Mary saved me. The Suicide Club saved me. It gave vent to our feelings. We were playing Russian roulette. We had no future. The gun barrel was pointed, placing a finger on the trigger ahead before the barrel.
I entered, and one I saw was dressed a cross chains, rings crisscrossed as if married to a duplicate, a double circulating venom. When it was over, I dispatched her from army precincts, escorted by officers from the Department for People Who've Lost Their Minds.
She was my friend.
People like Michael Cameron, who grabbed the revolver barrel and placed it against his temple and shouted, "Mary!" Michael Cameron dressed in the clothes of a woman.
As if she and Michael were twins.
And as Peter pulled the trigger, there was no definition. Like an overflow it ran, an avalanche. They defiled the army, orchestrated by a Svengali looking like chained Houdini stepping out of Mary Cameron's clothes. Michael Cameron, high priest of a strange ritual, a magician. I looked it up in books of ancient history. It was a display, an unspeakable ceremony, kissing a circle that was supposed to create Dionysus. And their poetry, an offering, mass, tribute, worship to their goddess, Saint Mary, their patron saint, their muse,
their creator.
There were 6 women dressed to mirror the masculine. And
the men were dressed to mirror the feminine, evoked the eternal feminine.
Tell him. Make him realise.
The body in the crate was Michael Cameron.
The experiment, the energy. You see, I experiment. I smash the energy, the electrons. They all dismembered. They flew over here, smashed the wall here, and reassembled on the other side. Reassembled her.
The Suicide Club, who were playing Russian roulette. The cadets, Michael Cameron, Mary Cameron. Poets! Apollos of St. Mary, the Secret Order of Magdalene, the Sublime Celestial Stable of the Templars, Round Table of the Spirits, the Rite, the Initiation Ceremony, the Spiritual Ring.
Each point of the circumference of the solar plexus of the zodiac, the inner wheel, the inner circle, was split into splinters. He blew up the mine himself, Geoffrey Pringle. He blew up the mine himself, don't you see? GP. I've just come back from being away in the mine.
The culmination of everything.
You remember the silver mines, don't you?
One spun a real bullet in the chamber. In the process of elimination, arrow round the circle to illumination of spiritual emancipation, the psychic incest communication. Rhythmic leap to the universe by osmosis to combine the spark of the divine intelligence in the sublime cosmic temple of the celestial. Spirits in the rain dance. Ritual festival. Day of the harvest. Day of the ritual. Procession of admission into heaven of the night, ascending in ecstasy for love of the self. Their holy grail. To look into the face of Christ, their Saviour, who inspired the gift of literature that was theirs to receive in poetry in the presentation of the ring. The spinning chamber, the christening, and it exploded into space. Point to the zodiac, imploded electricity as it circled into the sphere of the soul, the square of the secret ritual, short-circuited in the swing. Flash pointed in the water, in the rim of the lip of the seal, which ran round and round the cycle we had created in the chamber. The chamber of syllables. sparkling light filled the whole universe of golden spirits, of God, the Holy Spirit, winged from the face of Magdalene. Mary, the miracle, in the energy, the power, thrilled the God's crown of electricity of the cathedral, the bells, the rubies of the rosary. I saw it in circle, the spinning ring of the Spirit. Angels' music, love, I. Just as Mary was about to pull the trigger, Michael took the gun from her, held it to his head, he pulled the trigger.
Forgive you. Forgive yourself.
Space-time moved.